Into the Nexus is a production of amove.tv. Bookmark amove TV for other great video games and esports podcasts. Into the Nexus is sponsored by listeners like you via patreon.com/ITN. Welcome back, everyone, to Into the Nexus, the podcast all about Heroes of the Storm. I'm Garrett Weinzierl. I'm still under the weather this week, so bear with me if I'm coughing a little bit. And I am joined, as always, by the feeling much better Kyle Fergusson.
I am. This is a contest. I'm sorry.
No, it's totally fine. I'm just putting that asterisk out there so that when I go in the middle of talking, nobody complains. People are still going to complain. I'll still get tweets. It's fine. It's all right. It's fine.
Hey, you're just covering your Korean esports bases. I don't know why. They always perform amazing, but they always come out and say they're sick. I think it's about lowering the expectations, so everything else is just like, man, he must be cool. That dude's awesome.
Yeah. See, that was my plan all along. That's absolutely what I was trying to do. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. It's been a interesting week of Heroes, and it's all gameplay and coming esports. There's no sort of balance changes or anything like that today. Lots of experiences in the game. I've been playing the game a lot, of course, getting geared up and starting that climb for that Raptor, if I can manage it.
Yeah, it's I think the quietest damn week we've had since 2.0 was announced.
Which seems healthy, and everyone I kind of talk to doesn't know what to ban because things are kind of reset. It's interesting.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, there are more than 4 things I think you don't want to let through. Is what it boils down to.
Particularly when it comes to those sort of, well, depending on your league, the things you just have to get rid of. Hanamura, Asmodan, apparently. Sylvanas on half of our maps, if not more than that. And if you're doing Team League, you got to get rid of Varian. And it's not a bad idea to get rid of a Nubrak from the start either.
Yeah, which I think is good for the game. I think it's good when powerful picks can get through, and specifically when there's more than one powerful pick, so that hopefully both teams can get at least one kind of powerhouse. Which it'd be interesting if say on Hanamura, because Sylvanas is quite strong there too. I would love to see Sylvanas on one side and Asmodan on the other, and like just the battle of the lane pushing specialists. But that's never going to happen. One of them is inevitably going to get banned out. Good chance both of them are.
It's an interesting time too, because the community is really focused in on cheese and throw pits as well. Everything is cheese and everything is a throw pit at the moment. And that maybe speaks to some frustrations that I think a lot of alpha and older players are having, as we were very defined with our 1 support, bruiser, tank, and 2 ranges, and everything. You do this, oh yes, and then I'll cover it. I'll fill at the bottom. And now things have been kind of thrown out the window with new players, Smurfs, and everything else going on. Just the event itself of, getting boxes, playing things that you may not have played before to get said boxes. I think we have to prepare our minds for this coming Crucible, which is the name of the HGC event coming up. Not so much that we're all going to be going through a hellish time. For what is going to be defined as the layers of esports competition. When you go into a best of 7, you have the wiggle room to suddenly pull out kind of made up bogus things. If you are 3 up on your enemy, and you know that you're going to be playing the rest of the day in a LAN environment, it was very popular in StarCraft to whip out a rush and see if you could just win the game in under 6 minutes, because you had a busy day ahead of you and you didn't want to waste that. If your rush failed, you left the game. That was it. It was over. And that does happen in League and Dota, where these tournaments allow for people to just drop, to say, well, GG, exit the game and call it there. So I'm not sure where I sit in this, and I'm curious for your thoughts on it as well, because you watch a lot of Hearthstone. Is there cheese decks there?
Not necessarily. I mean, someone's going to disagree with me. Someone is out there going to go, Quest Rogue is the biggest cheesy, cancer, broken, OP, whatever modifier you would like to throw at the deck. But I would say no. I would say unequivocally no. There are decks that are they're just strong, and the chances are you are going to see every single player at a given tournament bring that deck. But I wouldn't say that there's these aggro. It's just an archetype. It's a card game. It's always been a thing that's existed. And while there are players out there who get very angry about the concept of aggro, and it tilts them, I would say it comes with the territory, and it's just kind of an accepted thing. It's an accepted part of playing a card game.
Right. Well, in particular a 1v1 game, if you were going to build your houses out of gold and leave money in the streets and you get raided by Vikings, well, big surprise. You decided to go for gold, and people killed you before you could create your awesome 40/40 creature. I feel like in 1v1 games it's less tilting to the audience, whereas in a team game, maybe because 5 people come together until the draft is entirely over, there's no real way to tell maybe that something like this is incoming, and then it just hits the field hard, smashes, level leads get going. I mean, just like you might have a board presence or a economic advantage in StarCraft, it's unstoppable at some points. This past week, I was in Team League, and we fought in our nice little mom and pop weekend Team League stream a 5-man Hanamura push. And we had the tools to deal with it. We had a Murky pushing the top very hard as fast as they could, getting those stacks of bribes so we could control the map. 4 in the bottom with a Gale Force and an Ariel. And that should be extremely powerful when 5 people are all balled up. But they came in, destroyed our fort, destroyed our keep, spawned those catapult sieger things for the very first time that I've ever seen them. If those things reach your baseline, they turn into a full shot on your 7-shot core instead of turning into maybe a sapper shot like it does on Towers of Doom, or you have to take all the forts in one go. So it was a frustrating experience. And I think at that point you really start going, what can the devs do to change this? But that's not my immediate reaction.
I mean, you're the type of person that I would assume would never have that immediate reaction. Your reaction would be, how do we outplay this?
Right.
Did you leave something on the floor in the draft?
And we left a Sylvanas and a Varian and a Nub. They got all the sort of things they need to make a certain snag of us and destroy us despite us being in safety range of a fort. So we did mess up. And we'll be prepared for it in the future because I spent my ban on Asmodan. Asmodan's extremely powerful in Hanamura because he has enough health to push hard. And then when you eventually catch him, he's got enough health to walk all the way back unless properly CC'd by a good 2 or 3 people. So I don't know what the answer is there. I will be prepared for it now. I will be watching. I'll continue to get those characters that do stack well. Maybe favor things like Gul'dan, Alarak, anyone who can complete a quest off of a big pile of people. But I think that particular one is one that we may be looking to the devs for.
Yeah, I haven't been noticing it personally myself in my own anecdotal experience, but I'm splitting my time between, have fun, quick match land, and my Hero League. My Hero League is in a bizarrely kind of sane place at the moment. I still get angry people. It happens. It's a game on the internet. But overall, it's all kind of what I expect for the most part. I will say there's a big difference in between my Hanamura games in Hero League and my Hanamura games in Quick Match. There's a lot more respect for taking down forts. There's people in Hero League know that the forts exist is probably a better way to put it.
Yeah.
Whereas every Hanamura Quick Match game I played this week, I believe I have lost because we haven't taken down a single damn fort.
It can be a little snowbally when that enemy gets it. Then you get stuck on defense because now that shot is worth more. So we're still all learning it together. Speaking of learning, I actually started branching out a little bit this past week too. I ended up joining up with a number of Masters players in the A-Move community like Frumgore, Nitty, and Twammy. And we've just been playing a lot of quick match. And then I sat down on Tuesday and streamed some games with Nitty, who is a top 16 rounder of the Heroes of the Dorm this past year. And focused a lot on support, actually. I've been with guys who are higher ranked than me. So I took the reactionary role and let them kind of pilot the way. And I've really been enjoying that. But the main thing I learned is that Cassia, for example, Cassia's good. Nothing wrong with Cassia. She's got a great win rate. She's got great pokes. She's got committal. She's got blinds, a bit of, CC on herself. But to draft Cassia means that you do not deny through drafting the Vala. And our meta, while it might be really even at the moment, we're not sure what to ban in a lot of cases, we still have to aim for those power picks of Greymane, Vala, fall stat on certain maps, just because the wide player base, particularly in the higher leagues, are going to go for those exact same things. By picking Cassia, I remove Cassia from a pool of nobody. If I pick Vala, there's 3 people on the other side that went, oh, well, I kind of wanted to do the Vala.
Yeah, it's something we always come back to, right? How can my pick deny their pick? And Cassia just isn't going to do that. No one's vying for them, unless just by some round of luck, the other Cassia snowflake in the world is on the other team.
Right, and they're like, darn, the one chance I had. So it's an interesting time. I very much fell in love with Greymane this past week after putting a lot of work into probably Lich King and Sylvanas the most this season so far, and Greymane being the newest one to go on. Haven't gotten a chance to play Lich King, haven't gotten a chance to play too much Sylvanas outside the one Hero League game I talked about last week. But I am picking up Greymane regularly, and it's all just Gilneas cocktail build. I did read a fantastic guide this week by Psalm, which talked about how to diversify your build based on all these really exact scenarios. It's just so easy. I know when I really go try hard and start doing that grind, every character is a hammer and every problem looks like a nail, and I'm just like, oh, Tychus can do, Greymane's got this, this Greymane's, and I know I'm starting to mess it up a little bit, and I become an unsmart drafter during these times.
Things to keep in check. Do you find Sylvanas is a hero you need to really continue to work on to stay relevant with? Because and again, we're not in the same league. I think being in Plat affords me a certain relaxation in my micro abilities. But I've always filed Sylvanas under bicycle, meaning like I never forget how to play this character.
And that's a bigger deal for me because Kristen and yourself played a lot of Sylvanas when this game came out, and it has always been my base mental strategy to avoid playing the heroes my friends love. So when I watch them play them, I don't become tilted. And just because it's a safety precaution in my brain.
I like the idea of you purposely playing heroes that we love so that you naturally teach us through osmosis.
Fair, that could work out, right? But I don't know. It's your baby. You're taking it for a drive. I don't want to jump in. That's like I've said before on Sonya. I feel like I'm jumping in some guy's Corvette and it's manual, and I'm just like grinding that thing. And they're just going, no, why would you pick that talent? Oh my God, look at this Sonya go.
There are car nerds out there going, of Corvette's a wonderful car to do that in. Very strong transmission. If you're going to grind a gear, that's a car to do it in.
Well, and Sonya's a fantastic hero that could be like a bicycle in that way. But no, it's more because I'm getting her under my belt for the very first time this season. And I'd say Rag is kind of a bicycle for me. It's there if I see the emergency need for it, but I like characters with more CC on them outside of a heroic.
Yeah, I'm with that. I'm with that. I can completely understand that. So, while we're on the subject of personal play, I've been working on my wall of shame, the heroes I've ignored for one reason or another. Mostly because 2.0, man. It's just they did such a good job gamifying your climb that I want to do this now. You know me, I tend to stick to a small circle of heroes. I don't play a ton of different heroes. So I think of all my friends, of like you and the core guys and all the other podcasters I play with, I think I am the lowest overall level. So I've been working on my wall of shame, if for no other reason than just because I want to, you got to work on that EP in a little bit.
Well, it's the perfect way to get those quick levels because your account level is the sum of all your hero levels. So
Right.
why go for that 36 on a 35 when you can get level 3 in 2 games?
Yeah, so I've been working on things like Lunara, who I think I got to like level 4 and then never went back to, and Medivh, who I ignored completely and realized I hate him so much, and I don't think I'm going to level him any further. That is the most useless damn hero. Oh my god, I hate him. I realize he's not actually useless, and there's some really great places for him to be, but those places to be are not hurting cats in quick match. That's not the place to take Medivh.
It's difficult to watch people walk by your doorways as you leave them open, and Artanis is like, I'm good.
Or not utilize your shields.
That one too.
Yep. That's the big one. That's the big one. It's like, you are protected! And they just walk away from a thing they weren't going to win, and from something they weren't going to escape anyway, but we could have fought with that shield and probably turned the never mind. Whatever the case is, Medivh tilts me so hard in quick match, it's ridiculous. But I did end up falling in love this week, Kyle, with a hero I, for whatever reason, convinced myself was not for me. Butcher.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Was it successful for you? I mean, of course, if you had fun, I assume you won.
Oh, I had some rough losses. And yesterday, if you were watching my Twitter feed, you probably saw a salty tweet. I don't know if you saw it. You didn't? Okay. Well, it was basically, hey, no, that Butcher is not a new player. He's just not going to fight 3 people on the Braxis point alone while you lane Arthas.
Yeah, and you were on Braxis too. That's a tough place to get your meats.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, that is a vegetarian map.
Yes. Yeah, there's a lot of those right now.
Yeah, absolutely. But oh my god, that Arthas was just pinging on me and pinging on the thing, and I'm just like, three of our team are dead right now. You and I are the only people here, and you're laning. So, but other than that, yeah, just totally, really, really into the Butcher, and I basically didn't listen to our own advice. Our advice is always go out and play every single possible hero that you can, so that you understand them, so that you know how to play against them, you know what to do. And I just never really did that with Butcher, and now I get it, man. Like I really get why some Butchers have a hard time on certain maps the way that they do. At the same time, I've now become kind of belligerent towards other Butchers that I see. I'm just like, why did you not? The big one is people not canceling their charge, of course.
Yeah.
I don't know if some people are just like, well, the 0-2 blinked behind the wall, but I'm just going to let this connect with that tower.
Maybe they don't know you can turn it off, right? I mean, these are some of these odd talent interactions that are happening all the time. I think, though, that your enjoyment of Butcher really speaks to your current climbing in Hero League, your mechanical skills that you have gathered, and now the large foundation of knowledge you've accrued about this game. Because Butcher is a decision maker, and that's all he is. More complicated than Illidan in that way. Monk even, because there you have 2 charges where you can go in. You know, Cassia probably maybe even on the level of Butcher with Varian, except for Varian has that protect. All you have is forward momentum, and every time you charge, it is a very educated choice, or you are going to die.
Yeah, no, 100%. But yeah, man, dear God, I was even having fun when I would be losing, as long as I had all my meat stacks, right? If you're losing and you don't have all your meat stacks, it really sucks. But like even just wailing on a boss that is wailing on our core, I was still sitting there with a grin watching those giant numbers come up.
Oh, they're big. Yeah, if he completes his quest, he can get it done really fast. And there's a related and great question in the chat right now. Why is Illidan doing so well? And we're seeing this with Sammy and Butcher. All are really rising to the top of our current meta. And it's because what we talked about at the top, it's the bans. Our bans are now a little confused, and they're starting to move on to Arthas was already getting banned out, but now Anubarak's starting to get banned, and Varian and Team League and such is now getting the bans too, because we're having this cut down on CC. And as those heavy CCs are removed, Anubarak, Varian, guys who can run free suddenly are available.
Yeah, the less control over the battlefield that your warriors give you, removing warriors like Arthas, like Varian, like Anubarak, the more there will be a sickly gazelle at the edge of the herd. which is exactly where Butcher shines.
I think too, with the Lili nerfs, our double support problem has subsided greatly, and we're going back to Merkin a little bit.
Yeah, that too. I've noticed myself having to remind people to Merc again, which is something I feel like I haven't had to do for a while. But now you're right. That cadence, that part of the song that is A Game of Heroes is now coming up more and more often. It's like, okay, now is the time to take Mercs. But I'm having to remind folks, and it was something I realized I wasn't even really thinking about for probably the last few months.
We took it for granted.
We did. We very much did. So, anyways, I feel like it's about time for news. There was one last shout out though required, because you and I played a couple games this afternoon prepping for the show, and we ended up in a game with a fan who recognized us. So props to Millie, who helped us kick some serious ass on Braxis this afternoon.
That was solid. We did a great job.
It felt good. I very much enjoyed healing your Vala, Millie. So, well, let's move into this week's Heroes news.
We're on, boys! Ha ha! Let's liven up this place!
Point me to the stage.
Stay a while and listen.
So it's a relatively quiet news week. This is the first time we haven't had a balance patch or a new hero or, a massive overhaul of the game to kind of dive into. But there are some things esports related that are coming up or already transpired, good and bad. Start with the good. HGC Crucible is this weekend. And I'm very excited for this because this is kill or be killed. And that's pretty rad.
We are about to go into the mid-season brawl, which is kind of our halfway Super Bowl in a sense. We're getting there to BlizzCon. Half the year is over. Time for the whole world to get together and fight it out. But before then, we have to see if some teams will be losing their HG spots, and of course that sweet money retainer that comes with it. And for me, it's the villains that are up to battle with Team Niventic versus imported support. So I'm really excited for that particular game. That's Saturday at noon Pacific this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, Niventic's, they're a household name for us NA fans, but they definitely have been having some issues as of late, even without getting into airing dirty laundry publicly, which has come to light recently, just their results in general. That's why they're here.
Yeah, 2-14 in their series.
Yeah.
So pretty rough. And actually, while they have seemed to have been unable to maybe adapt with the changing metas, their competition, Imported Supports, is a very heavy meta team, sporting almost Greymane and Nubrak Gul'dan as much as they can.
Yeah, and they did so well last year.
They did, and it makes you think that, maybe they didn't evolve with the times. Other people got different opportunities. But, of course, we do have links in the show notes to all the crazy drama that's been involved with so many of these teams. Of course there will be, because these are human beings and their livelihood is on the line. It's going to be an emotional business.
Yeah. Although if some of the drama surrounding Niventic is to be believed, you would think this wouldn't be the case if your livelihood is on the line. But you
may want to schedule some scrims and practice time with your team.
Yeah.
If you believe that money to be important to your sustainability.
Yeah, indeed. Starts this weekend. We're going to see it take place for for the three big regions, Korea, EU, and NA. NA, for those of us here, is starting on Saturday at noon Pacific time. And it's going to be kicking off with Niventic versus Imported Support. And Kyle will be watching at home, holding his breath. I'm going to be at a fireside, so I might have to pull it up quietly on my phone while all the Hearthstone fans go, "What are you watching?" I go, "Huh? What? Nothing."
Well, I will be watching over at twitch.tv/Kyle Fergusson, 2 S's in Fergusson. If anyone likes a nice, peaceful area to watch these games and have some educated conversation, it's a great place to check out if you want to avoid that main page and some of the NA lulls that seem to dominate the chat over there. Also, Sunday is going to be No Tomorrow versus Even in Death, which is really cool because No Tomorrow is 3-11 in their series, also struggling, has a 61% win rate with Muradin at the moment, so look for No Tomorrow to draft up a Muradin, but their competition is made of old Astral Authority and Guster Bust players. So some old meat coming back in, fighting for spots.
Super freaking cool. You know me, I'm not super into esports drama, but I feel like we should probably mention a little bit what's been going on with Gale Force.
Yeah, we should.
Okay. All right. So, Crowan and Equinox are looking for new teams. News broke this week that they are no longer going to be on the roster. Crowan specifically kind of dropping to a sub position, and the issue there being that he found out about that via a tweet that was making this announcement.
Seem to be a little sneaky, but this is really common in esports. The management tends to want to keep face in a more corporate light, and the players do get sacrificed.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see anything wrong with dropping players and shaking up your roster to make a better team. That is the whole point of all of this.
Right.
Not informing them that they're being cut or being kind of deranked before making it public, that's really not okay.
Whether it's a Skype message the day before or however this information goes, it's never going to be good. The real problem with GFE is that they went, upon getting Equinox on the team, for flex, which is really cool. It's an awesome idea that you were going to have this main guy kind of in front, calling the shots and whatnot, and then 4 people that can just be whatever. And it's led to some really bizarre and very fun team comps that have been about 50-50. And so they're going to do a big switch up. They have until June 10th to find their 2 new players, and they're going to force their 3 sort of mainstay players back onto their roles and fill it out from there.
Yeah. So I'm interested to see how they bounce back from this. But good God, this is like all anyone's been talking about this week, and it is not necessarily my jam.
It's juicy to an extent. I don't know. It's odd. We've been through this too many times, I think. When they break up for the first time, it's scandalous. When they're breaking up for the third time, you're kind of like, shouldn't you guys date other people?
Just get the divorce already. It would be better for everyone.
Maybe that's where we're sort of falling flat here, and it's people's livelihood, so it's tough to get out the popcorn for.
Yeah. Well, anyways, now that we're at this point where we're coming up on our first midseason brawl, the Crucible, all of these roster updates and whatnot, you wanted to take a look back at HGC so far this year. Take a look at the stats and make some sense of it. Hopefully give us something useful to take into our games this weekend.
And of course, this is all with practice teams in the height of the meta, mostly playing on a month-old balance patches too. So there's some oddballs in here. You won't see any Genjis or anything like that. No information from the past couple weeks. But to kind of find some information that we will be imposed by at home, the most popular picks in HGC, the entirety of it this past season, was Malfurion, Muradin, Greymane, Dahaka, and Falstad. In fact, you can even make a decent little comp out of that right there.
Yeah, that's a team. You could play that.
Top bans were on Tassadar, Zeratul, Zarya, Falstad, and Vala. We've now moved on a bit from the Tassadar, Zarya sprees of the past, though. So
right.
Don't take that information to too big account.
Tassadar Tassadar and Zarya especially. The Shielders were very much I think a product of the fact that the patches that we were playing on were so slow to hit HGC. That's not really something we're going to see a lot of now. And also, I think Zeratul that's a big gamble, banning Zeratul. I think highly depending on your league in Hero League.
Right, you'd be more likely to ban Valera if you were that afraid of something ganking your backline, because she's easier to use and she's newer, so most people who are interested in those roles are playing her.
Yes, and she's a 100% quick match hero, so if you have the feeling like your teammates might be rather fond of quick match, Valera is a likely stealth pick. But, yeah, and also Falstad. When was the last time you saw Falstad banned?
Well, Warhead Junction's back in, and that's confusion at the moment. People are banning Dahaka, Falstad, even in the the master games I joined up for, but we're not sure it's right at the moment. And these Falstads are running with their bribe talent for the most part at 1, and that's a new element as well because they're not stacking in the stacking lane; they're using the bribe talent to go solo lane. So we're just not sure what his role is at the moment.
And I mean, you can go back just 4 or 5 weeks probably and listen to me talk about how Dahaka is my biggest fear in this game. That is definitely no longer the case. I wouldn't even flirt with the idea of banning a Dahaka. I'm not sure exactly what happened. It feels like the players at my level have now all kind of hit the point where they know how to fight against a Dahaka, but it's fine. If they want Dahaka, let them have it.
And that could be it, even a slight decrease in his lane clear speed, maybe, or his team fight damage should have gone up. It's a weird, maybe people are seduced by new talents where they do more damage based on how much essence they have, and things are just going awry. I'm not sure what's going on with Dino Man.
Yeah, Dahaka overall is kind of strange right now. And as a matter of fact, I know jumping ahead a little bit to the blue highlights, but we're talking about it already. Why not bring it up now? Daybringer posted on the official forums talking about Dahaka's drop to a very low win rate, and he said there's a lot of great conversation, insight, and math on this thread. Rest assured that we are diligently watching not only Dahaka but all the changes the last patch delivered. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him get a tweak in a good way in the future.
And we always have to remember any hero that does high-speed damage in an aura or a laser of any kind is being killed very quickly by Genji at the moment.
That's a good point.
It could just be as simple as that. And they're getting good. I've seen some crazy Genji plays this week. Almost every single Genji I know of wants to pick a fight around the boss in Braxis because of that machine gun, and they always win. Either they win the boss or they destroy your team. Also, they're waiting for lanes to collapse. If they have one lane minion left, that's what they want. That lane minion dies, everything looks for a new target as it walks down a move style down the lane. And if Genji's the first target, all 7 of those things open fire on him. That's 7 shurikens flying out of him into your face.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like that. I like that a lot. In Overwatch, a Genji pick is very questionable in my mind. I put it right up there with Hanzo because who knows how good you are, but we've reached the point in Heroes of the Storm where I'm very happy to see a Genji picked on my team.
Yeah, and there's a lot of ways, and there's a lot of characters to punish there. And it's more effective because of its high mobility than the current stealthies. Yeah,
absolutely. So
the saddest thing, of course, that came out of this look back on data from the Tempo Storm article is that Raynor is the only hero who wasn't picked at all in HGC. Everyone else has had some sort of performance at some point.
That makes me so sad.
Me too.
I miss Raynor, man.
I know he's a bit of a joke. Gosh, he's what I got to rank 1 originally with, so he'll always have a special place in my much reduced hero pool heart. I don't know what you do. Honestly, this past weekend, I took him into Team League, and I did Relentless Leader, which does, at level 4, a knockback if anyone stuns or roots you. The root's not as important. That's just going to give an area effect that no one's really going to care about. But ETC, power to power, trying to power slide you, you knock him back. Diablo trying to get off a stun, you knock him back, and you can ruin tanks' days. But Sonya's Resurgence could mean that since that hook shot is fired at range, the stun happens outside the range of the pushback. So Raynor's dead and doesn't receive his pushback there. And then Taunt. Taunt is technically a silence effect. So if you want to reduce it that way, this is not the talent for it. You're not going to knock him back there either. In fact, a lot of our new spells like Horrify and Taunt don't really kind of plug into traditional CC labels anymore.
Yeah. He's another hero I think just kind of fell through the cracks in all of the balance updates that we've received. I wouldn't be surprised to see some of his talents at least get kind of tooltip updates that I would very much like to see in future balance updates. So anyways, Kyle, we're coming up on this 2-year anniversary of Heroes of the Storm.
That's pretty crazy.
That is nuts. And it's even more crazy for you and I and anyone who played in the Tech Alpha because it's been 3 years.
Yeah.
3 years of Heroes of the Storm, Kyle. We're getting closer and closer to Into the Nexus having gone longer than StarCast ever went.
That's true.
We're creeping up on it. 184 episodes, I believe we did of StarCast. We're at 167 on Into the Nexus. It's still going to be a little bit, but at some point, I feel like we need to have a really weird party on 185 that just confuses all non-StarCast listeners.
I think that sounds fantastic, and more so that in those later episodes of StarCast, we struggled for content so much. Esports was dwindling down heavily with the release of Legacy of the Void on the horizon. No one really wanted to participate in old Heart of the Swarm tournaments. Heart of the Swarm did some rather, it seemed, boring things to the meta with Swarm hosts and stuff like that. So to be at a 2-year anniversary, that's actually a 3-year anniversary, and to be saying, wow, we're number 7 on Twitch, and looking back at what has been a successful half a year here, and the beginning of this game for a lot of people, that's dang nuts. How many properties in the world even get to have any sort of resurgence outside of maybe a cult following 15 years later?
Yeah, I don't know, man. And I'm excited for StarCraft right now. We got the remastered coming out. I can't freaking wait for that. But so the 2-year officially, since the launch of the game, not since Tech Alpha, is coming up. It's next Tuesday. We're getting an in-game event that's starting, or not next, this upcoming Tuesday, May 30th. And it's bringing with it a daily quest that we get to complete, either an AI quick match, unranked or ranked, doesn't freaking matter. And we get 1 common loot chest per day for completing that daily. And then there's also an event quest to play 3 games, again, in whatever mode you want. And there's an anniversary portrait, spray, and banner to be gained just by playing 3 games in the mode of your choosing. So,
of course, the main thing here for us regulars is the sweet 1 loot box a day.
Yes, I'm so into loot boxes. I hate and love these things. I get really excited when I get a new one. I want to go and open it. I'm saving my gold on rerolls, even on like standard ass loot boxes, because I'm like, I know I can get at least 1 rare out of this. But at the same time, I know it's a gamified thing meant to trigger a certain pleasure portion of my brain and get me to buy more loot boxes.
Yeah, and then you got people like me here sitting on 53 now after the past week, and I'm just waiting for some holiday or some giant wave of new skins.
There's still a lot of skins I want, though. I still don't have my Diablo skin. I want that new Vala skin. I got a lot of the new skins for characters I don't really play. Like, I got that dope-ass new Succubus skin for Kerrigan, but I never play Kerrigan. The only one, the new one...
I have so many Kerrigan skins at this point. I just never touch her.
Yeah, which stinks. I really like Kerrigan overall, but just not a hero I've ever... Well, kind of like Cassie. It's like, who am I? Am I really taking this Kerrigan pick away from anybody? No. All right. Well, I guess I'll pick Vala.
Well, and Kerrigan, often when you pick her, is going to fill the bruiser role, and that can just throw things completely off. I mean, even when Rag tries to take up that role because he lacks the CC, sure, he has regeneration now, it can still just go horrible.
Yeah. It's a burden of execution. Why make it harder on yourself? It's such Kerrigan is such a higher risk than a more traditional bruiser like an Artanis, like a Sonya, hell, even like an Arthas. So, anyways, I'm jazzed for this. I'm going to definitely get in there and get all of these things. So, bring it on. Back to the blue highlights. I already talked about Daybringer's comments on the Haka, but he also talked about a Leoric update, said they're currently in the early process of updating the Skeleton King's talent tree. Quote, that said, this process is never short, and I cannot give a definitive timeline before all of the heroes of the Nexus shall suffer once more. I promoted in Plat yesterday with a Leoric next to me that during draft I went, I disagree with this. It worked really well.
He's not in a bad spot, but the main thing about him always be, if you miss your W, you're out of luck, and you are likely dead. You don't get the kills you wanted, and does that matter? I mean, why do we have these weights around certain spells? If Thrall misses Wolf, everyone goes like 50% mad. Stitches misses a hook. Worst Stitches ever. Could be the first hook of the game, right? It's bizarre what we lock into in our heads that makes a certain hero bad, but it is important, and it could be what is keeping Leoric down. I'm just sad because we've been hearing about this update since BlizzCon, and I am still waiting on. I want a Skeletal Swing build. I want to say, hey, we need Bruiser and lane clear. Let's do this with Leoric. Not necessarily that I need to bust tanks every single game.
Agreed, and a very binary tank busting, like you said. You're either amazing or you miss, and you're the most useless hero on the field.
And I love all the cute stuff I can do with him. I like getting the reduced cooldowns, teleporting around, having 25 armor with my talents while I'm moving in my ghost form, dodging skill shots, getting out of dodge. It's great. We'll see what happens. In fact, there is a bug, or maybe a bug, or we're not sure. D.Va's defense matrix in the game right now is reducing to percent base damage. So that is a 75% reduction to percent base spells. Leoric's Drain. Of course, his health return is based on his own health, so he's still healing, but you're doing no damage to D.Va, basically.
Yeah. Which is rough, to say the least. But, I don't know, just come play in my league, Kyle, where D.Vas don't know how to angle their matrix correctly.
There's been a lot of, there it goes, bombs that I've seen this week. Just zooming by.
I did that twice before I realized maybe don't do this while boosting. Unless it's on purpose, because, there's a wall there and it's going to stop on the wall, or you have a better idea of the inertia that it carries as it travels. I mean, you can do some
if you're a D.Va main, you know how far it goes because you played so darn much. But yes, us just casual D.Vas should probably stop combining those two abilities.
Yeah. Granted, though, unless it's a 5 stack of enemy heroes, I like just walking in the middle and dropping it and standing in it to be that bait. Like me, it's D.Va outside of the back. You want it, and then they try and kill you, but they don't do it fast enough, and then they explode.
I am a huge fan of Bunny Hop when I play her, and this is all for fun. But I am starting to believe that all other points should start going into pilot mode. That concussive pulse, that tornado dash, giving her abilities while in that pilot mode is just huge.
It is. It makes her like a Lucio Vala if you take both of those talents.
Yeah.
You boop them back, and you got a little vault. It's fantastic.
And the pushback, I've pushed people back into the bomb.
Oh, yeah, you're right. You absolutely can do that. So, finally, for all you Zagara players out there, I'm just talking to myself, really. Centauric commented on Genji's ability to clear creep tumors. It was brought up on the official forums like, hey, why can shurikens hit creep tumors but Li Ming's magic missiles can't? And Centauric replied with, because it's a bug. Thank you for bringing this up. We're looking into it. So,
which Zagara is doing well. She has a negative win rate on a lot of maps, but a very positive win rate on her old favorite, Tomb of the Spider Queen, back in the day, but also Hanamura, which I have a hard time digesting because you leave the creep and then you chase the object, but there's something going on there. It may just be trying to force into a zone of any kind with a Hydralisk on you. Or the push power. Oh, but that's probably it, actually. They're destroying forts and keeps and winning the game.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say that's it. All right, well, before we move on to strategy, let's thank our patrons. There are many of you over at patreon.com/ITN right now supporting this show with money. There's all kinds of ways to support Into the Nexus. Just listening to it, just downloading this podcast means you're supporting us, and we appreciate everything. But the best way to do so, because this is part of what Kyle and I do for a living, are these podcasts, is going to patreon.com/ITN and signing up to subscribe for 25 cents a show, $1 a show, whatever works for you. Every cent really does help us. So thank you so much, everyone, for your support. Thank you to our producers, Declan H., Cheesy Bob, and Mythdoll. And this week, thank you to Venser, Curtis R., Walker R., David C.J., and Sam Z. Thank you all very much for supporting this show.
It's important to note that we have an after show after our podcast record where we play games with the patrons. And tonight is Team League. We're going to be going in there with some patrons and helping you guys complete those placements and get that Raptor. So these sort of things are the stuff that we love unlocking, and more support means more events just like that.
Yep, absolutely. Now, let's move into this week's strategy discussion.
Choose a talent.
Choose a talent.
Talent? Ah, that seems generous.
I have a PhD in PvP.
So we got a new core concepts posted to the official Heroes of the Storm website this week, and we mentioned them. Let's see, we mentioned the first one last time Dunk was on, as a matter of fact. And Dunk pointed out some of the interesting choices in Heroes to give tips about. But this week it's about map awareness. And Kyle,
Yeah.
You can hear me. My voice is going out, and this was your brainchild anyway. You wanted to add on to this. You wanted to enhance some of the tips they were giving here in this piece.
Or just highlight some of them as really darn good tips. And props to the Heroes team to put together such a fantastic article. They go over the importance of map awareness, more on a base level that you should be using it and what sort of information it will provide to you. I just wanted to throw out the quick tip. Number 1, count your enemies, wait for your allies. It is always okay. Instead of saying wait, instead of group up, let's 5, can we group now? Something less effective like that. Pick the hero that you are most concerned with being there and message to your team, wait for Greymane. We don't have a comp anyway without Greymane's damage. He'll be the last one here. Everyone knows when he arrives on the scene, we can have a fight. But also, do it aloud. Use your mouth while you play this game. Count your enemies. See 3 in the bottom, 1 in the top, 1 in the bottom? Awesome. You're okay to get aggressive.
Yeah, absolutely. Otherwise, if you see 1 at the top and no one else, maybe play safe.
It is A-okay to just sit in the bush and just soak. But we'll get to that in a moment. They also bring up being ready for objectives. These have timers. You should learn them. You should check out nexusmaster.com. It's a fantastic website that updates regularly with all this information you'll need to know. But on a base level, you're not going to have this window open next to yourself. It's just not efficient to be running timers all the time. So most objectives in this game pop around the 2-minute mark and then reset about 2 minutes later. Start to develop a feeling for yourself that when an objective ends, you got 2 minutes. Maybe watch the clock at the top. I prefer to say, what one thing did we get done? Did we push a fort? Did we take the merc camps? Probably time to go get freshened up. Go top off those healings, those bars, get the mana back, because that thing is coming up soon. By the time you move out on the map, it'll be time to go.
Anything else, Kyle? Sorry, I was lubricating my throat.
Understandable. That was it for their importance of map awareness tidbits. Let's go to the next section, which was laning and roaming. They talk about towers, forts, and keeps giving a large amount of XP when destroyed. Look for opportunities to safely bring them down. That's all well and good, but the fact that really got me to focus on getting XP through buildings was that the 2 towers in front, they have the wall between them, but just the towers are equal to the full XP of the keep by destroying those 2 together. Reward yourself mentally when you take out the wall and the 2 towers. That means you have access to that fort during a later push. If it is an inner base wall, it is protecting a keep. If you win a team fight, you now have access to that keep rather than having to go through the wall first with some Li Ming lobbing from behind it.
Yeah, I'm really glad you bring that up. And I know some of these things, if you've been listening for 167 episodes, we probably mentioned before. I know we've mentioned that 2 towers are equal to the XP of a keep in the past, but it's worth to bring it up again because I'm sure you've noticed, Kyle, so many players are very gung-ho to go and overextend to try and get a fort or a keep, but they don't seem to have the same level of, zealotry to go and take down towers, which is the safer bet a lot of times. So go for it, because if you get them both, it's a good chunk of XP.
And we've gone really deep on this before talking about banked XP. To give the really short explanation, the map is covered in piles of XP, and they're called buildings. As you destroy them, you cash in your XP. So if you have an early game comp, Sylvanas makes a lot of sense because you will take the towers early on, meaning you have an XP lead, and you'll win the game very quickly in the early game while you're strongest. If you, for instance, had a Zul Jin comp that's kind of late gamey, if you went through and destroyed all those buildings right then and there, you would have an advantage, but it wouldn't be as strong as the Sylvanas. So you make these choices about when you cash that stuff in. Instead of taking a curse that's going to be take it to 2 of 3, you go destroy their top forward. Now you've cashed in that banked XP, but you used it to counterbalance what the enemy team was doing.
Yeah, and again, think about all of this in terms of timing. Will it get you to a level that you want to be at for the next fight you take?
Their next tidbit is one that is nearly impossible to follow, but it is very important to know. Being in the range of XP, minions dying, gives you the XP whether you touch them or not. And your range is about the range of your sight. So when you have vision, you need to get about halfway there, about half on your map. You should be good. You'll see the little XP numbers appearing above their bodies as they die there. You never have to touch that lane at all. So you can absolutely win this game by being invisible. If you had a team of 5 stealthies that just sat in lane, did nothing, they could still accrue as much XP as the enemy. They'd likely get pushed out, of course. But this level of calmness is unachievable by most human beings in a video game. So you have to combine this with the next tip they give, denying your opponent regen globes. When the little caster, the wizard in the middle dies, he drops a regen globe. When you pick it up, you get health and mana back. Is a very strong strategy. If you notice that they want to go for it, they want to get that mana back, they want to be aggressive, and you can muscle them out of there, stop them from grabbing that thing, every bit of damage that you've been doing now is very effective, and they have to spend their resources, whether it's a hearth back, whether it's a well grabbed, or a spell onto themselves, which is their own personal mana. You will get an advantage by pushing them out like this. So when you're in a 1v1 lane or any sort of lane, be honest with yourself and acknowledge that if there's 2 people, if it's 1, you're 1, they're 2, and you kill one of them, nothing's really changed. You removed a hero, it felt good, the rest of the team feels great about it, that's awesome. It's good to feel awesome. But the soak was never reduced. If you want to take risks in a 1v1 lane, that's worth the risk. Because if you get the kill, you not only get the bonus XP of the death, you deny them the soak time that it takes for them to rotate up someone else, making another lane weaker, or that time it took them to walk all the way back in lane.
Yeah, to their second and third tip here, I mean, really it comes down to patience, to being patient, and realizing that you don't need to go ham all the time, which I think was what was a little misleading, specifically about the second tip, where they're like, you don't need to worry about kill stealing, you don't need to worry about when to kill minions and whatnot. But they never mentioned the fact that you don't actually even have to attack the minions in the first place to gain the XP. And as we mentioned in the past, and I think it's worth bringing it up again, it is absolutely fine to allow the creep wave to move into your territory onto your side of the map, because it can make denying that XP much easier.
A simple rule you can follow is every time you're on the enemy's half of the map, you are extending. You are being aggressive.
Exactly. And so if you think about it, so if you're moving into their creep wave and it's equal, they're meeting perfectly in the center, you're now you're extending into their side, you're being aggressive. But if you take that entire group, that entire bunch of creeps, of minions, and you move it closer to your wall, and you're doing the same engagement where you're moving into the minion wave, you're still safer. You're still within your side of the map. You're still closer to your own wall in case a gank attempt occurs.
Exactly, and that's why on Tomb of the Spider Queen, you should never over-push, because then you're going to make gems on their half of the map where you were likely to get ganked.
Yes, yes. And I can already hear someone typing an email, what if I have Sylvanas? It obviously doesn't count in that scenario.
Right. All this is very general, not hero-specific. And if you have a hero that is meant for roaming and killing like Nova, sitting, soaking, doing nothing is not the right call, but merely an example of the Zen-like warrior attitude that you could have about these sort of things.
Yep. Flow. Go with the flow of the game. Let the enemy expend their energy. It's just like a real fight. If you could just dodge for a while and let them tire themselves out, why wouldn't you?
Their last set of tips is all about making use of the map and the advantages you have in it, and it's frankly brilliant. It's fantastic. It goes over why you would take mercs at certain times and how mercenaries in our current understanding of the meta are used for pushing during objectives, being active during those times. You do not often push along with your mercenaries at all these days, regardless if you even have a talent that enhances it. It's a bad call. It's all about that thing creating pressure somewhere else while you force fights in another area.
It all comes back to timing. Timing is important, and you should constantly be thinking about it. It is not just about outplaying your opponent in a micro capacity.
So combining these thoughts, one of the things I'd really like everyone out there to work on is making permanent impacts while the enemy team is dead. Take this information and distill it into get a fort. Don't go take merc camps. They'll be alive when you have all the things pushing. They'll just defend. Nothing's happened. When an enemy's dead, get down that wall, particularly if they're not dead for a long time. If they're dead for a long time, go win the game. Go destroy their keeps. Win the video game. That's fantastic. But use the limited time you have to make permanent, lasting impacts on the map itself, and that is destroying buildings.
Well said. Now let's wrap this episode up with some emails.
Darkness stopped calling.
Hold on. Darkness just texted me.
Okay, tell him I'm not here.
itncast@gmail.com is the place to send those emails. Crushinator writes in this week and says, "Hey, Garrett and Kyle. I was hanging out in Trixler's Twitch chat, and someone asked why the lane split on these particular 2-lane maps was 1-4 instead of 2-3. I paused for a moment and realized I really don't know. Outside of funky global rotations, every 2-lane map I play ends up naturally in a 1-4 lane split with no complaints. Why is this the standard strategy? I know this is what everyone sees in pro matches, but what led them to this conclusion? Is this really the best strategy for all levels of skill? Thinking about it makes me yearn a little for the old days of the ETC/Tyrande roam squads. That stun meta was a little oppressive, but it sure made you good at minimap awareness. Love the show."
So the simplest answer is that why do it with more people? What can be done with one hero? And our solo lane heroes are oddballs, like Rexar, Alarak, Ragnaros, people who can sustain themselves for crazy amount of times. And by themselves against non-solo lane heroes require response of multiple people. To kill Rexar, you need to be able to bypass the bear in some way. He has enough health to survive a Nova gank, at least one all by itself, and get back behind his wall. So it would take Nova and the guy versus him. If Rexar is getting 2 people to respond to what he's doing in the top, the bottom is a 4v3. The 4s beat the 3s. So it all just kind of came down as the simplest way. Take a specialty hero in the top that would elicit that kind of response, and we'll 4-man the bottom during that time.
I love that. Your answer is because solo lane heroes exist.
Yep.
Is really what it comes down to. And on that, I would like to add, actually, I'd like to give you a scenario, Kyle. What if, in your draft, no one is comfortable playing a solo lane hero? Would you then just pivot and say, okay, screw it, let's go 2-3?
That's a tough part. That is a very tough question. It's what I'm struggling with in our current Braxis gameplay on the family team league kind of stream. What do you do then? Do you do a double support and then split the 2 kind of halfsy, Uther, Lili supports into 2? Our honest answer right now is Cho'Gall. That's what we do. We grab a Cho'Gall. I'm on the Cho, Kristen's on the Gall, and we make it a 2v3, but the 2 of Cho is so oppressive that we kind of cause that response of at least 2 people, if not 3. And now the 3s are verse 2, and we kind of cause the same sort of scenario to break out.
I mean, again, I'm going to fire some shots. The correct answer in your case is tell Gorath to stop playing whatever bizarre fetish he has this week and adapt.
I do think Dunk Train's advice from a couple weeks ago, though, is fantastic. The right answer, and probably the easiest answer, would be to run a global hero like Brightwing or Dahaka, so you can continually make adjustments on your comp without wasting a lot of time.
I agree. I 100% agree, and I've been practicing up on my fall stat, as a matter of fact. So
interesting.
Next time I end up on a weekend session with you, by all means, tell me to fill that role.
Sweet. It's a powerful role.
Lorish writes in for our final email and final little tidbit today and says, greetings, ITN cast. I just wanted to throw my 2 cents in on Kyle's love for trolls and raptors. Although I agree that both trolls and raptors are pretty cool, I'll have to inform you that Zul'jin is a forest troll and therefore prefers bear mounts. Not a lot of raptors in forests, right? Over the stylist raptor of the other tribes like the Darkspear tribe, which is the playable World of Warcraft trolls. Lucky for you, the Imani mount already exists in Heart of the Storm. This is why I don't like HOTS.
You did it.
This is why I don't like HOTS. Heroes of the Storm as an Imani warbear. And to be honest, Zul'jin looks really cool riding one of those. So I'm going to put words into Kyle's mouth and say what Kyle really wants is either Vol'jin, Sen'jin, or Rakan. I'm not actually familiar with that character. As a character to fulfill his troll raptor fantasy, as they are jungle trolls with raptors as their preferred mounts. Sincerely, Lorish, an over the average wild lore fan. And first, I must say, I read this and giggled, and then I also felt embarrassed that I didn't catch this last week. Because I know this bit. I know this bit.
Trolls, right?
They're what?
The thick trolls, basically. On the gain train.
Oh, the Imani? The Imani tribe?
Why don't they want to be part of the Horde? Did they not like us?
I don't.
Why do we get the thin trolls?
I don't know the entire thing. Oh, well, the Imani specifically are like a blood feud with the High Elves, which became the Blood Elves.
Oh, right, and Horde got the Blood Elves and they hate each other.
Yes. I mean, that's part of it. As to why they didn't join the Horde before that, because they've been around forever, I couldn't honestly tell you. I'm not aware. I'm not that deep on my troll lore. But I love this kind of stuff. I love it so much, and so I'm always very happy to hear from a fellow just total nerd when it comes to Warcraft lore.
It does make you think that something went a little wrong, right? Maybe that raptor we're getting, which is just maybe a little too nice as a seasonal reward compared to our previous elemental ones, was going to come out with Zul'jin, and then someone busted in the door one day and said, guys, hold up. Oh my God, we're about to make huge mistakes on the internets.
I don't know. I mean, the Imani Warbear came out at the same time, so...
We need delay Zul'jin 3 months, man. We got to make a bear. I'm sorry. Just raptors in the trash can.
I don't know about that. I think it's a totally natural kind of a reaction to have, too. It's like, oh, raptor, there's a troll. I want to ride a raptor on my troll. You're not even thinking about the like very deep, specific lore implications. You're just thinking of your experience as a World of Warcraft player. Because trolls equal raptors. Undead equals skeletal horses.
We need a skeletal horse so bad.
We need a skeletal horse. That's probably the most egregious one. The fact that I can't have like Warcraft 3 mounted Arthas, it pisses me off, Kyle. It enrages me.
I run a Nephilim pony with him because that's about as close as you can get.
I do the exact same thing. The vanilla color, which is black, Nephilim pony, is the required Arthas mount.
Which I believe is officially called the Malthael Phantom, and I think is still available if you play through Reaper of Souls.
Yes, absolutely. It's one of the coolest mounts in the game. You should absolutely do that.
Yeah,
and if you haven't already played through Reapers of Souls, what's wrong with you? It's one of the greatest things Blizzard ever did. Love Reaper of Souls. Bring me some new Diablo, by the way, while we're here.
Oh, man. Death Charger from the Baron run. I need that because I never got it. You know how many darn times I went into Stratholme?
Yep.
Kristen got it.
Damn it, Kristen. Damn it. But
and her third run in there, and I can't tell you how many times I soloed that on my mage at level 6. No, you couldn't do it back then. It was BC when I did all the grinding.
Yeah, you couldn't have soloed that at level 60. That was max level. That was a max level.
No way, yeah. That was the Baron run back then.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, anyways, I think it's going to bring us to the end of this episode. I appreciate everyone bearing with me today. I think I mostly held my own. Thanks again to our patrons at patreon.com/ITN. Thanks again, Declan H, Cheesy Bob, and Mythal. You guys are badasses. Get your swag over at shirts.amove.tv. Into the Nexus t-shirts up for grabs. Custom etched glassware can be found at etched.amove.tv. There is an Into the Nexus wine glass, coffee mug, or pint glass, whichever beverage suits your fancy, as well as stickers and whatnot over there as well. Join us Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here, twitch.tv/AMoveTV, or over at alphageekmedia.com. You can follow the show on Twitter at ITNcast. And we got to thank Gorath, obviously not for switching heroes on Braxis, but we can thank him for the insanely awesome intro music that we have on the show. And we can thank BrianGriffithMusic.com for the outro music you will hear very shortly. Other than that, Kyle, where can folks find you around the web?
You can find me over at Twitter at Kyle Fergusson. You can find me on YouTube at Kyle Fergusson, well, and twitch.tv at Kyle Fergusson. But this week, I want to promote a community tournament that's coming up next weekend. This is the Gathering Storm Tournament. This is your final weekend to submit your application and get your team in there. So GatheringStormTournament.com is your place to go to sign up for that. This is the community tournament of a gathering of all the podcasts that you might be familiar with for Heroes of the Storm.
Indeed, I tried to say through a muted microphone. I'm so off my game tonight. Folks, you can follow me on Twitter, at GarrettArt. Every podcast I do can be found at amove.tv. I would like to recommend For Azeroth. That's a show, not, it's Anchor Chicken into Nexus. Everyone knows about those shows. I'm going to promote For Azeroth this week. It's a World of Warcraft show that I do with Jocelyn Moffat. Probably have a new episode going to be recording this Monday, unless I'm just floored by this throat, but should be good to go. So go and give that a listen. And while you're there, click the link for nomoonart.com, because that's my graphic design portfolio. And if you need a graphic designer, you can contact me through that. That is going to do it for this episode. I hope everyone enjoys the Crucible this weekend, and best of luck to all teams involved, because
This is the future of sports!
Thank you, Chris Hardwick, for talking for me. That's going to do it for this week. Enjoy your weekend, good luck, and have fun.
Take care.